Okay, so I've just finished cycling the Tour Aotearoa, which is the full length of New Zealand, where I started at the top of the North Island at a place called Cape Reinga, all the way down to Bluff, which is at the bottom of the South Island. And so in this video, I'm going to outline some key stats, as well as 10 key reflections that I've had during this experience. Some reflections are quite matter of fact, whereas others are a bit more deep and kind of reflect what I've thought about emotionally through that time. So I hope you enjoy. So the first reflection that I have is that it restores my faith in humanity. Looking at the news at the moment, it's very negative. There's the war in Ukraine, there's Israel-Gaza, there's the geopolitical tensions with the tariffs and potential trade wars with the US and China. The list really does go on. And this is in stark contrast to the people that I met when I was out in New Zealand. Everyone was genuinely so great that I met. People were really interested in what I was doing. They offered me accommodation. They offered me food and water. They offered me lifts when the weather was really torrential. So that really made me feel great, and it just goes to show that when you are in a position of vulnerability, your fellow man will generally speaking be there for you. My second key reflection is it's not a case of if but when. So what I mean by that is stuff will go wrong. So the most important thing you can do is to cultivate a mindset of, I will be able to figure this out, or if I can't figure this out, I'll be able to find other people around me that can. You will have mechanical issues, almost guaranteed. So just be prepared to be in that situation where you're on the side of the road and something isn't working. You will figure it out. Number 3 is cycling the Tour Aotearoa brings you closer to nature. This is quite an obvious one, really, but when you go bicycle touring in New Zealand, it's an absolutely incredible route. You go through mountains, valleys, and you cross countless rivers and lakes. So it just gets you out there. Camping as well, really close to nature. There are lots of sandflies, but you got to embrace that. But if you want to get into nature, TA is a great thing for you. So number 4 is going out alone makes the experience more social. So I think a lot of what happens to people sometimes is they want to do this adventure, but they can't get anyone that either wants to do it or has the time to do it, and so it puts them off. But I went by myself out to New Zealand, and I actually met someone who was about to start the same route as me on day 0, so right at the campsite near Cape Reinga. A chap called Keegan from Idaho, and I rode with him for a couple of days, and then I met more people later on. I met Babs, I met Finn, Birk, Alex, the list goes on. So just have faith, you will meet people. You're very approachable when you're on a touring bike. You know, when you have your loaded panniers and you've got all the gear, it's interesting. People will come and approach you. So you will meet loads and loads of people and have a really good sociable experience. It doesn't matter if you go by yourself. If you're with another group of people, say you go out as a planned trip, you're not as approachable, I think. So go alone if you can. It's brilliant. So point number 5 is cycling. So physically cycling through New Zealand is one of the best ways to see the country. The great thing about cycling is that you travel at a fast enough rate to get some good kilometres in, but you travel slow enough to appreciate the lumps and bumps in the road, to appreciate the terrain, the little villages that you pass through, the climate. going through New Zealand by bike, you see the cultural differences, the socio-economic differences as you pass through different places. The more touristy places, the less touristy places, which are just full of locals and farmers. So that was just a great thing to do, and I personally think that was more interesting than if you say took a camper van and just drove around, which is what a lot of people do. Reflection number 6 is to respect your bicycle. So I guess the key learning for me is just really take pride in wrapping your bike up before you ship it off in a cardboard box in the plane. I was doing it in a bit of a hurry, and I didn't wrap up. Well, I didn't put a support in the steel dropout, and I think it was banged during transit. And so effectively what happened is that it slightly compressed, and so I couldn't get the front axle into the wheel when I was reassembling the bike in Auckland. So I ended up having to get that fixed. So just really take care of your bike. Point number 7 is don't skip breakfast. So when you're cycling, you're going to be burning loads and loads of calories, and you've got to get the carbs in early doors. For me, what worked really well was just having a couple of sachets of porridge in the morning, and that meant that I could have the energy to do 40 or 50 kilometers before the most important meal of the day, which I reckon is second breakfast, where you basically go to the best cafe you can find in the local area and just get the best of the menu. So don't skip breakfast, get your carbs in. Point number 8 is doing something like the TA will do wonders for your flexibility, as in your physical flexibility. So I was camping a lot, you're low to the ground, you're crouched around like doing your roll mats and your sleeping bags and cooking, and it just does wonders for my hip flexibility. My hip mobility increased a lot, and also my hamstrings definitely got more supple as well. So that, as well as getting stronger legs from all the pedaling that I was doing, it just made me feel much better about myself, and it kind of makes you realize how poor Western society is when it comes to keeping people flexible. For example, a lot of people work in a desk job, and it just absolutely kills my lower back. So that was a really cool thing to see. Point number 9 is basically being out in the bush will make you appreciate civilization. So I think there is this thing in life where the grass is always greener. So if you're over here, you want to be over here, and then if you're over here, you want to be over here. Living in London, where it's polluted, busy, hectic, people aren't really that friendly, you kind of want to go into the countryside, into nature where there's woods and fields and freedom and tranquility. But then when you're out in that, it's like, oh, it would be nice to have a lovely warm shower and in a nice Airbnb with a couple of cafes to choose from. So I think the key takeaway is basically just to appreciate where you are in the world, and that it will never be perfect. And the final reflection that I had is not all gravel is created equally. So what I mean by that is in the TA book that I was following, it provided a breakdown of the different terrain types. So that could be sealed road, gravel, single track, etc. But with gravel, there really is a spectrum. So for example, on the nicer end of the spectrum, you could have fairly small pieces of gravel on a compacted bit of road, which is flat. But then it goes all the way to the other end of the spectrum, where you've got corrugated roads with coarse gravel and a severe camber on the inside bends, which make it really hard to navigate when you're on a cycle touring bike. So there's good gravel, there's bad gravel. If you're not sure what sort of gravel you're going to encounter, just assume it's bad and just prepare accordingly. But I guess the final thing I'll touch on is that you really never know what's around the corner in life. And there are 3 main things that you have at your disposal at varying amounts during your life, which is time, health, and money. And if you have time, health, and money, don't hesitate to do these adventures. Life is too short for that. So don't hesitate, get out there and push some pedals. All right, guys, cheers. Thanks.